Hello, everybody, and I'm so excited to be part of the Great Awakening Conference. My name is JK Ultra, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that sometimes might fall through the cracks when we're talking about the Great Awakening. Because today we are going beyond love and light, and we're talking about the spiritual warrior's path. So, oftentimes, when we are talking about the Great Awakening, we really tend to focus on the love and light aspect of it. And as much as that is important, there's a very important aspect that we cannot skip over, that we cannot jump over. And anyone who has eyes, ears, or any awareness of what's happening in the world right now, turning a blind eye to the reality that we're currently living in is not the path to the awakening. Now, we might have many messages of spiritual leaders and gurus suggesting that we look the other way, focus on yourself. And there's an aspect of that that is true because we do have to hold our frequency. Each one of us has an individual frequency, and that is our gift to this world. When our soul's frequency was incarnated in this body, that was our gift to hold on this planet. And we do need to maintain our frequency. We do need to remain who we are in the process. However, anytime you open your phone, turn on the news, read anything, we see the horrors that are happening in the world. And for those of us that are more empathetic, you can only look away for so long. You can only look away at the horrors so long. We have war, we have genocide, we have crazy elections that are going on right now. And even the future of our own country is uncertain right now. So, what I wanted to talk about today is not running away from the dark, not being afraid of the dark. So, let's talk a little bit first about the spiritual battle. So, oftentimes in these new age spiritual spaces, we hear about the battle between light and dark. In religion, we hear about good and evil, God and the devil. We're hearing about this constant fight between good and evil. We're hearing about the Pleiadians versus the Reptilians. Everybody's acting like the grays are bad. And when we take a closer look, and when we look deeper into consciousness and to what the gurus and great mystics have said, our outer world is a reflection of our inner state. So, as everybody starts to talk about the spiritual battle is ramping up, the battle between good and evil is ramping up. Satanism is taking over. There's an agenda. It's trying to win. This is a deep call from our internal state asking us to please look at this, to please look at something within ourselves. Now, there's a famous Maya Angelou quote, and I really love this quote since I heard it, which is, "Nothing human is alien to me. Nothing human is alien to me." And the reason that this quote is so beautiful is because we want to look at the horrors of the world. We want to look and say, that's not me. I would never do that. I would never hurt a person. I would never be in war. I would never kill someone. I would never do that. I would never do that. I would never do that. Actually, I'm an ascended light warrior who's here to save everything. And it's really hard, stressful work coming into this very dark, crazy humanity, which is nothing like me. I would never do such a thing. And this is one of the big downfalls that we're seeing in the spiritual community right now is this, not me, never me. I'm different. I'm separate. I'm separate from the darkness. I'm only love and light. That's not who I am. And it might be triggering to hear it. Some people really like the idea of evil existing because it makes them feel comfortable because they get to position themselves on the light side. Oh no, darkness is separate than me. I'm of the light. I'm only of love. I'm here to help humanity. I'm here to save humanity, actually. I'm here to raise the consciousness. And although that's true, we don't do that through avoidance. We don't do that by being in the human vessel and denying to ourselves that we are human and that every single wrong and every single mistake that the humans are making is somehow separate from us. This is besides the point of coming into the human body and incarnating in this experience. So our emotions actually anchor us into the human experience. So we don't want to look at what's going on in the world and turn and say, I can only focus on myself right now. And there's a level of that. I'm not saying to some people go far on the other side, and we'll talk about that next. But this is the human experience. So that's why I love that quote. Nothing human is alien to me. And until we see that this spiritual battle that is being played out in the world, or this physical battle, this war that's playing out in our physical reality that real humans, real lives are being lost to, until we can accept that this is a reflection of our own inner state, it will not change. We know that what we're seeing in the outer world is a reflection of our inner state. And now maybe you've worked on some of this, maybe you've done some shadow work, but we're all still human. The human collective is still working on this. So when we look at what's happening in the world, say, for example, the very kind of forbidden topic in the spiritual space of Israel and Palestine, a lot of people understandably do not want to address it, don't want to speak about it, because it seems like a lose-lose situation to speak about. And the way that I would like to discuss it is in a metaphor. When we talk about, let's say, a pimple, right? So when a pimple comes up on the skin, it means that there was bacteria and toxins underneath the skin for a while. Those bacteria and those toxins could have been pushing out through the body, could have been underneath the surface, but they've been underneath the surface for a while. And then finally, those toxins come out and they present themselves as a painful, ugly pimple. It's noticeable. You can't not look at it. It hurts. It's painful. You want to look away from it. You want to ignore it, but then you also don't. You want to look right at it because you feel it. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. All of these things. Now, how do we deal with a pimple? You can pop it. And what could that do? That could exacerbate it. That could cause a scar that could be there for the rest of your life. Or you could pop it and spread the bacteria and then create more pimples and have a whole outbreak of what's happening. This is what's happening in the world right now. As we have these battles that are happening in the world, these wars and genocides that are happening in the world, this is a toxin that has been underneath the surface of humanity for a very long time. It's now coming to the surface. And, probably the safest way to deal with a pimple is to allow it to burst on its own and then clean it up as best as possible. And then if you're having a problem, sometimes the best way is to clean the body, to detox the body, to change the diet, to drink more water, to flush out the system. So if what we're seeing in the outer world is a reflection of our inner state, we can't control what's happening in the world. We can't control what world leaders are doing. We can't control what religious wars and different things are happening in the world. What we can control, though, is our inner state and flushing out our inner state. So instead of looking at all of the evils in the world and saying, not me, never me, I would never, I'm a good person, we can start to look at ourselves and start to say, what are my blind spots? What are my triggers? What do I need to reflect on right now? What toxins are inside of me, psychologically, emotionally, because we're carrying thousands of years of stories, thousands of years of trauma, thousands of years in our DNA of everything that has happened on this planet is imprinted on us. We are human. And as much as many of us might feel like we are from somewhere else, a starseed, a light worker, coming here to do this and do that, at the end of the day, the only thing that is 100% provable is our humanness. And we also need to take responsibility for it. There's a reason why, if you are all of those things, you didn't stay that thing and you came here to do this. So what we're seeing right now is history repeating itself in a very dramatic way. Because like that pimple, it's telling you there are toxins underneath the skin. There are toxins underneath the surface that need to come out. And we're seeing this pop up, these pimples pop up all around the world. We're seeing it in the US with this election. We're seeing this same divisiveness where we have Democrats and Republicans fighting against each other. Meanwhile, when you look at the numbers, 43% of people are independent voters anyway. Two smaller groups are being shown as the two opposing sides of whatever side you think one side is good, the other is bad, whatever it is. The reality is that there's a lot more people in the middle, and we need to start focusing on this middle part and not becoming so polarized. Because in a lot of these spiritual teachings, we talk about the new earth, about 5D. And for a long time, I was obsessed with all of this information, and I was like, okay, well, what does this mean? Does that mean we're going to turn into our light bodies and zap out of Earth? Is it going to be a rapture situation? Is it going to be a dissolving of the old timeline right in front of our eyes? What's going to happen? What is this 5D going to look like? Is it going to be Utopia? That's what I want. Of course, I want this Utopia. And as time goes on and I heal myself more and I go deeper into truth, and not just the truth that I want to be true, not just the truth that feels good, but the ultimate truth. And as I go deeper and deeper into my own truth, I see that this utopia, new earth, I don't believe that it's going to remove the polarities. Of course, we're going to right now, our polarities are right here, are so extreme. They're so far from each other that getting from one side to the other seems like so polarizing. However, as we heal this battle of light and dark within us, this battle between polarity and duality within us, this is going to come closer and closer. And it will not be one way, one utopia. But what will happen is that the two polarizing sides will be closer to each other. So instead of the polar opposites being all the way here, they'll be here. So right now, what's happening is we have a pendulum swinging. So a pendulum swings all the way to the left, and we see all this politically divisive stuff. And then it swings all the way to the right, and that's extreme, and all the way back, and then all the way back. And what's happening in this pendulum, it's swinging up and swinging back the other side. But now, if it doesn't have to swing that far, the pendulum doesn't need to gain as much momentum. It will eventually find a nice spot in the middle, and we will still have diversity of opinions and thoughts, but they will be more complementary to each other because the pendulum doesn't have to go so far to the other side. And this is the game of the universe. We are in a rendition of the universe right now that is duality. And, there's many different thoughts and beliefs about why. And, one of the most common within spirituality, within the beliefs of consciousness and things like that is God is light. The universe is light, right? Is one. But in order to experience, it needs to separate from itself in order to know itself. So a common phrase or a common analogy that we will see is you are light. You are light. However, if God is also light and oneness is also light, if you are one candle in the sun, You don't know where your bounds are. You don't know where your flame is because the light is so bright that you're a part of it, but you really can't see your own light because the light of God, the light of the oneness of source is so overpowering because it's grand, it's everything, and you're a part of it. So how will you know yourself? So what happens is in order to know yourself, you must create some shadow. There must be some light obscured in order for you to know, oh, okay, here's where the boundary is. This is the end of me and the beginning of you. And this is the illusion of separation. So we create the illusion of separation in order to experience ourselves. And what's happening is, God, the universe, source is one. And then we are every single little perspective. So there's one thing that is happening, existence. But from my perspective, from your perspective, from your perspective, from your perspective, from everyone's perspective is how we see the whole picture. Instead of just seeing from one angle, we see from all the angles, and that's why we need to create the illusion of separateness. So in order for light to know itself, it must experience dark. So we also know that all of this stuff that is happening on the earth right now, we sometimes want to be like, well, I want this to be my last life. Send me back, start 5D. I want to ascend back to, the Arcturian star system, to the Pleiades, to this, to that. I want to ascend back to where I'm from. I want to be back with my people. This is not aligned with me. However, when we look at evolution, the way that it's happened on this planet, it happens through difficulty. It happens through complexity. In order for these extremely complex beings to exist, it comes through adapting. It comes through hard conditions is what makes evolution happen. So if we are here as part of a soul evolution process, it's going to be mirroring the evolutionary process that we're seeing in the physical. And what is that? Extreme weather conditions, extreme, harsh plains, lack of food. Those are the things that force evolution. Extreme predators, extreme conditions is what pushes evolution forward. So what we have to do is in these times right now that we're living through, instead of running from them, instead of avoiding them, really learn how to evolve through it, because this is the true soul evolution that we're going through. Now, on the other side, we have the people who, on the other side of the love and light, who are experiencing the bleeding heart for what's happening in the world. They're looking at the problems in the world and they're saying, I can't live like this. I can't live knowing that babies are suffering, that people are dying. I can't live like this. I'm sick to my stomach. And the empathy has turned into toxic empathy. Toxic empathy is, it's great to be empathetic. It's great to feel for others. It's great to have that feeling of understanding what somebody's going through and truly understanding what they're going through to the point that you feel it. That can be good. However, that can also go too far on the spectrum into toxic empathy. So how do light workers navigate what's happening in the world right now? So one of the number one things, so the thing is with empathy is absorbing. So you're like the outer world is getting absorbed into your inner state. But what's happening is that the outer world has so much toxins that you're absorbing all of this. And then what happens is now your gift to the world, your frequency that you came here with to share with this planet, to anchor into this planet, to help raise the frequency of this planet, is now being taken over by the frequencies that you're here to be defiant of. The very frequencies that you were supposed to be defiant is now taking over you. So you can't go all the way into toxic empathy. So the number one thing to do if you're experiencing overwhelm by what's happening in the world is to shift to compassion. Instead of, I feel so bad for what's happening, you go, I have so much compassion for this person. I have so much compassion for what these people are going through. I have so much compassion for what these people are going through. When you see this, you're like, oh God, this is killing me. This is hurting my heart. Catch yourself. I have so much compassion for this. Compassion is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. It is so close to love. And what's happening is when you're absorbing, it's taking over. When you're having compassion, you're taking the inward frequency of what you truly are, that true light worker energy, that true source energy, the true big heart that you have. When you say, I have compassion for, you're sending that outward. Because, at the end of the day, feeling bad for someone's situation that you're seeing on your phone or on the news, it's not helping them. The compassion, sending it out, arguable whether it's helping them in the physical realm. However, energetically, you know that you are doing your job. You know that you are doing what you feel that you came here to do, that you came to share this frequency with the world, that you came to share this love and light with the world. You do that by shifting it to compassion. And compassion is empowering. It's empowering you, and you can trust on the quantum level that it's being received and that it is getting out there. And when you hold yourself in that, that is the resilience. That is the resilience on the soul level. So we're talking about physical evolution happening through difficult situations. That is soul evolution of being, I'm seeing something that is painful, but I am going to hold love and compassion and share that instead of absorbing pain and absorbing sadness and then allowing your light to dim. So, what do we know about light, right? Light is everything. Light is information, right? So, right now, between me and the camera, it seems like empty space, but the empty space is filled with light. It's filled with light waves because that's how we're able to see. If there was no light, it would be completely invisible. So light is everywhere, every single around you. Even when the lights are off and it's dark, there's still light bouncing around just a little bit, unless it's completely pitch black and has been blacked out for, I think they say for at least 30 minutes of pitch black, there's still light particles bouncing around. So there's almost never a time that we are with no light. No matter, like I said, you need to put yourself into a completely dark chamber and sit in there for over 30 minutes before light particles even stop bouncing around in that situation. So what we know is light is information, because even too, my eyes are able to receive the information that the light waves are transmitting. So light is everywhere all the time. And we go back to that one candle. So the way for that one candle that is your soul's light in the whole is able to know what it truly is through the darkness, is to obscure light, create a shadow so it can find its barriers. So each one of us is a different aspect of light. Some of us, are on the light path of compassion and helping. Some of us are on the light path of bringing new inventions into the world. Some of us are on the light path of creating communities. And so all of us have a different part of light. However, that one candle, it could be a dark room. One little candle is enough to start to see clearly. So this is what we have to remember, that if light is information and darkness is the absence of information, then when we see people in the dark, what we need to do is we need to share our light. So sometimes sharing the light is I have so much compassion. Sometimes sharing the light is holding the space. Sometimes it could be in the form of what we call information, which is like, hey, how about this? Have you ever thought about this? And this is going to bring the darkness less dark and bring it closer to the light. So what we see is this polarity. It only takes that one candle to make the darkest dark in the room be a little bit lighter and bring it a little bit closer. And this is what is going to remove these extreme polarities. Now, with everything going on in the world right now, it's very difficult to not get sucked in to the polarity. And it's normal. We're human. But what we have to remember is in a lot of these spiritual teachings, what they say about the light workers, the 3 waves of volunteers, the star seeds, the way showers, all of them are considered pillars. So you look at a whole house, a whole structure. A lot of times those 4 pillars are enough to hold up the whole structure. You have a table, 4 legs, hold all that heavy stuff on the table. So you don't need a lot of pillars to hold up a lot. And then when we look around at the stuff that's happening in the world, it might have seemed like, say, you felt like you're on this spiritual journey. You feel like you're making a difference. And then all of a sudden, since the end of last year, when the war started and genocide started and all this stuff started, even though, of course, these things have been going on for a very long time. But when it really came, the pimple really popped and became part of the awareness of the collective, and everybody became aware of it. It could feel like we were on this ascension path, and it could feel like we've dropped because of this polarity, because of this heaviness. However, we have to remember ascension, even though the word implies only up, it's not just a linear process. It takes time. And our ego is like, I want to wake up quicker. I want everybody to wake up. I want everyone to be enlightened. I want utopia now. I want the new earth now. I want all the bad and all the wrong and all the evils to be wiped out once and for all. And the reality is that if that happened, we would blow a fuse. If everybody woke up at the same time, like many people are dreaming, we would literally blow a fuse and burn out right away. So what happens is this happens in waves. And these waves have been happening, and each wave grabs new people, and then that goes to the ocean. And then this wave can go and it grabs new people, and that ocean is so vast. So each wave is grabbing more, but it's happening in a way that is frequentially safe for our reality. So instead of thinking of like our process, oh, we were becoming enlightened, and then all of a sudden now I'm down because of all the sad stuff and the horrors, what's happening is actually more like a stair, because you don't go down. You don't go back in your evolutionary process, in your spiritual process. What happens is we can't stay in enlightenment 24/7. We can't stay in oneness 24/7. What it is we get this little peak of it, but we don't drop down. We just stay on that level and we experience it integrating with human life. So when we experience this enlightenment and then it gets integrated with human life, it feels sometimes like going backwards. It feels sometimes like we're going down, but it's not. It's just integrating those human parts back up to that enlightenment level that you're at. So you'll have an enlightenment phase and then feel like, oh man, I was doing so well and now my life, I'm so sad, things are going wrong. But actually you're not. It's human circumstances catching up. Then you're going to have another level of enlightenment, because we don't just have one spiritual awakening. This conference is called The Great Awakening. There's so many awakenings. Each of us have dozens and dozens of spiritual awakenings in our life. And when you continue on your spiritual journey, you see how many awakenings you'll have. So what happens is it's like a stair. And instead of going down, you bringing this up. So you're getting all that stuff brought up. And then once again, you go up and bring that stuff up. And then once again, you go up and bring that stuff up. So this is the process of awakening. And each time, more and more is brought in. Now, I gained a lot of clarity on light and dark and polarity, duality through my journey with ayahuasca. And what I saw on ayahuasca was I saw the beginning of the universe and the end of the universe. And it was very scary. It was overwhelming. But there was a moment. So basically, what I saw is the Big Bang. So the Big Bang was basically like source, God's breath. And it was like, and it was expanding the breath, expanding. And through the expanding is all the fractals of experience, fractalizing more and fractalizing more and fractalizing more. And that's how it was expanding. And God's breath and God's expansion was going further and further and further and further. And this was through duality. Through duality, we got to experience two sides. And then it splits again, two sides, like a cell. Splits again, two sides, splits again, two sides, splits again, two sides. And those two sides continue to polarize each other and expand, expand, expand. And then when all of the experiences have happened and each aspect of this reaches awareness of, oh, I'm just one little piece of God. And this is just part of the experience. This is just part of the game. I figured out the game. It would merge back with the one. Merge back with the one, merge back. And then it would start happening quicker because more people were reaching this Christ consciousness and more parts of it would start to go back to the one again and again. And then it would start to happen so quickly to the point where basically at the end of this breath, we would reach like when you're doing breath work. And then at the top of the breath work, they have you hold it for the prana at top. That's what was happening. It was like God was expanding, 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 expanding. And then there was this prana, top of the breath work, top of the breath, where it's like, oh, you experienced that euphoric feeling. And it was like, wow, we had this golden age. And then from the golden age, it starts to breathe back, the opposite of the Big Bang. And this is after all of these people reach enlightenment. They start joining back to God and start becoming the one again. And everything starts to suck back in. And as I was seeing everything suck back in, and I was like, no, 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 no. I don't want the game to be over. And that's when I realized the game of this universe, which was duality, is duality. It could have been over 5,000 years ago. The Vedics, all of them, all the ancient cultures, but especially the Vedics, like, they could have ended the game then. They figured it out. You know, what we've experienced in the last 10 years, it's been figured out already. You know, this great awakening, it could have ended the game. But we want to keep playing it. So in that moment, when I saw that the game was ending, and what was told to me is in all of these spiritual messages, how they say, remember who you are, remember. Every spiritual message, every channeled message, we hear it in meditation, we hear it in automatic writing, we hear it everywhere. We hear it, we're like, remember, remember, remember. I realize this is not remembering your past lives. It's not remembering your purpose. Remember is the opposite of dismember. And we were once one, and we dismembered. And to remember is to remember who you are, which is the fractal of the one. And as everybody remembered who they were, it came back, all sucking back into the one. and then the game would be complete. And then there would be a new game. It showed me, now this I could be wrong about, this was what was shown to me, was that there was once a game of oneness and we completed it. And then the universe did the game of duality and we're coming closer to the end of it now. And then the next game will be a game of a trinity. But we can't even fathom what a trinity would be. We can't even fathom what the one would be because it's a completely different universe. It's a completely different game. And it'll go on for billions and billions of years until we're done playing it. And in that, when I saw all the things getting remembered back to the one, I was like, please, no, I don't want this game to be over. I wasn't done yet. I was still playing. And it made me realize that we have to be grateful for those people who don't want to wake up. We have this urge to wake up the ones. We don't want them to be left behind. You have to wake up. You have to wake up. You can't be an NPC. Everybody needs to wake up or else you're going to get left behind. There's no getting left behind. They allow the game to keep going. And we need to be grateful for these people who sadly still want to have wars because they allow us to experience ourselves as a form of light and experience this frequency and experience this soul evolution in this process. So another one of the revelations that I had with my experience with ayahuasca, and this one is very triggering to people. So, if it triggers you, then maybe it's something to reflect on, is that there is no evil. Not to say that people do not do evil things. However, there is no force of the universe that is evil. There are no dark forces. There is only God, light. There is only the force of love or the obscuring of the force of love, blocking the light, creating the darkness. But that's not a force of its own. It's just part of the game. And when I was seeing this information, as I'm like, well, what about the Illuminati? What about Bill Gates? What about the Reptilians? What about the Loosh? I'm like, what about all of this? And the answer that I was given is that there's two reasons for this. One, these are very brave aspects of consciousness that are willing to sacrifice their own light in order for us to experience ourselves. So, reptilians, etc., they're a brave aspect of consciousness that are willing to reflect our shadow back to us so that we can learn about the shadow of humanity. They are simply teaching us through a role play. And then what about the people on earth who do the horrible things? There's many horrible things. Obviously, people think serial killers and molesters and all the bad, horrible, worst things that a person could do. And I'm like, well, what about that? What is that about? And I was told that these are all God's children. These are all parts of the universe. These are all parts of the one. However, they are so wounded, they are so hurt, and they are so damaged that they cannot find their own light. They're lost in the dark. But it's not because of a devil, of an entity, of demons, of reptilians. It's simply being so wounded that they cannot see the light. They can't see that they are part of God because they were not treated themselves like a part of God. And they're so lost out there. So with us, as the light workers, as the ones who are here to be the pillars, we need to go back to that quote of nothing human is alien to me. So when we look at the worst, the darkest people on this planet, if we truly want to be the true light workers, We need to not shun. I'm not saying to praise these people. I'm not saying to put them on trophies and statues, but be willing to give these people compassion. Be willing to give compassion to the wrong people as much as we're willing to give compassion to the victim. And that's very difficult. And that's some real light worker shit. Like, that's some real love and light shit. It's easy to have compassion for the victim, but can you find yourself to have compassion for the murderer, for the perpetrator, for the bad guy, for the one that hurts people and hurts children and does those things? And a lot of us aren't going to be able to say yes to that. And that's okay. I'm not telling you need to, but truly, if you really want to anchor God's love, the universe's love, the true light, the oneness, then we also know that these people are wounded. And these people also, I'm not going to say deserve compassion, because that might be not the right wording, but that is being a true light warrior. A true light warrior is willing. So that's why I titled this Beyond Love and Light, the Spiritual Warrior's Path, because the true warrior of love is willing to be love when everything else is dark, when it looks like demons and devils are running the show. And we have to remember that everybody is looking at it from their own perspective. The person who was hurt, the person who was wounded, they believe that they're doing the right thing, and they're also tormented by what they're doing, because anyone who does wrong is being tormented by it. So when we look at what's happening in the world, we look at Israel and Palestine, we have to remember these people who are growing up in Israel believe they're doing the right thing. The people who are growing up in Palestine believe they're doing the right thing. Look at what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. The Russians believe they're doing the right thing. The Ukrainians think they're doing the right thing. China and Taiwan right now, they believe they're doing the right thing. These people are so similar. Russian and Ukrainian, they're the same lineage, the same bloodline, they're the same DNA, almost the same culture. A border separates them and they're killing each other. China and Taiwan, they're coming from the same lineage. They're coming from the same DNA. They're coming from the same ancestors. A border separates them. Israel and Palestine, their religions are literally mirrors of each other. There's like two things different. There's so much similarity in what they believe, and a border separates them. And this border, these invisible lines of governments, is forcing these people of the same to kill each other. And this is what we mean when there's a spiritual battle that is happening inside of each and every one of us. And we need to stop turning away and picking sides of every war, picking sides of everything. Republicans and Democrats, both sides think they're right. At the end of the day, they want their people to be safe. Everybody wants their family and their loved ones to be safe, to have food, to have what they need, to have shelter. Everybody wants the same thing. And when we stop with these polarities that are so far from each other, and we start to see there's a lot more in the middle ground that is the same, we can start to, like I saw in that vision, maybe get to that top of the universe where there's the prana, the top of the breath work, where there's that euphoric state. And it's not going to be 100% utopia. There's still going to be differences. There's going to be different types of people. But the true light work, the true spiritual warrior, is able to overcome this and able to be a pillar and hold that space for whoever, whether the person's right or wrong. Everybody is God's children. Everybody is a fractal of God. Everybody is a part of the oneness. There is nothing else. There is nothing else to be. So we need to start loving and treating everybody that way. And that's why sometimes it's hard with our thoughts and our beliefs to get there. And that's why I said, switch it to compassion. I have compassion for the victim. I have compassion for the one who's doing the harm, who believes they're doing the right thing too. Well, everybody, that's my time. Thank you so much for being part of this Great Awakening conference. Thank you so much to Neil for putting this together. And everybody, I said some things that might be a little triggering. If anything comes up for you, then think about it, journal about it, see how you can find love in these situations that are the hardest to find compassion. Thank you.